Hey y'all, it's Miss A. Today we are going to be looking at proportions. We're actually going to be spending a couple days on these skills that are on this note page: ratios, rates, proportions, part, whole, percent, and then measurement conversions. Today we're mainly going to be focusing on the ratio and rate section right here. So this little box. And then we'll do some practice problems that kind of go along with your activity for today. All right, so let's talk about what a ratio is. A ratio is a comparison of two quantities. It must be set up correctly. Be sure to use labels. When I say labels, I mean, 3 boys, 4 girls. Don't just put 3 and 4, so that you know what word goes with the number. It can be a part to part, so it could be talking about the ratio of girls to boys in a classroom, or it could be part to whole. What are the ratio of girls to students? So you would put a fraction of girls and then total students as the denominator. So different types. Here you can see the different ways you can see a ratio. We can see them as a fraction, probably the most common way. It's easiest to deal with. Also with the colon in between, the 2 dots, and then with the word 2 in the middle. Okay, but it's always first number is 3, first number is 3, first number 3, second number 4. So that's how it goes. The next thing says a rate. A rate is a ratio with 2 different units. So here, an example of a rate would be $5.25 for 6 pounds, 250 miles traveled in 4 hours, 49 feet in 5 seconds. So these units, when I say units, I'm talking about like what the word, feet and seconds, miles and hours, dollars and pounds. They're different when it's a rate. And then a unit rate is a ratio always with a quantity of 1. So a unit rate's always being compared back to the number 1. So it could be the price per pound, how many miles you can travel in 1 hour, how many feet you can walk in 1 second, whatever the case may be. But a unit rate has to have a denominator of 1. All right, so we're going to go over this section too, proportions, because it goes along with our assignment. So proportions are 2 equal ratios, 2 ratios that are set equal to each other, 2 fractions, and it can be used to find a missing quantity, must be set up correctly, be sure to use labels, solve for the missing quantity by cross multiplying and dividing. One side of the proportion may be a unit rate, so one fraction might have a denominator of 1, or one side of the proportion may even be a percent. So here we have miles and hours. So 432 miles were traveled in 6 hours. We want to know how many miles can be traveled in 8 hours. So here what they did was they cross multiplied. They did 432 times 8 and got 3,456. That's weird, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then multiplied 6 and x to get the 6x. And then after that, you just divide by 6. So 3,456 divided by 6. They gave it to me right here. 576. I was going to cheat. 576. And then that gives me my answer of 576 miles in 8 hours. Okay, so what they did here was basically where they cross multiply and then divide by that other number. 432 times 8 got them 3,456, and then divided that number by 6 to get your answer of 576. And we're going to look at some examples like that today. All right, so today you are working on a Google Form activity. It's called Team 2-1. So technically, if you were in class, you'd be working with this with a team, but you're at home by yourself. So we will go over these team questions together that are on your Google Form assignment. So make sure you're paying attention. All right, number 1. Focus for you. Number 1 says a window washer cleaned 38 windows in 2 hours. At this rate, how many windows did he clean in 7 hours? So we know 38 windows in 2 hours. At this same rate, so if he keeps it consistent, how many windows is what we're solving for. How many windows can he clean in 7 hours? Okay, so we're going to set up a proportion. I think I have enough space space. I have enough space to write it here, and then I will solve it on the other page if I need to. So we are going to set up, if y'all remember when we did this, WKU is what I call my proportion. Basically, that is what they did over here on this one. W, our word ratio, our known ratio, and our unknown ratio. They just didn't put the letters WKU at the top. All right, so we've got 3 fractions we're going to write. We know that we are comparing the two. If we look at our numbers, 38 windows, 2 hours, I know my words are windows and hours. I like to put whatever one comes first on top, and whatever word comes second, I put on the bottom. So I put wind for windows and hours like that. Now, what do I know about windows and hours? I don't know what number goes with 7, because that's in my question, but I do know that 38 windows can be washed in 2 hours. So I'm going to put windows on top, 38, 2 hours on bottom, because 38 were windows, 2 were hours. Now I have to figure out where this number 7 goes. 7 represents hours. Hours were at the bottom of my ratio, so 7 goes here. And then X on top. So from here, I can cross multiply and then divide by 2. There's nothing wrong with that. I would do 38 times 7, 56, 21 plus 5 makes 26. And then I would divide the whole thing by 2. So 266 divide by 2. 2 goes into 2 one time. 2 goes into 6 3 times. And then 2 goes into 6 3 times. So 133 is my answer. Now you see here this is a griddable. 133 is a whole number. Whole numbers go immediately in front of the decimal. So 133. Y'all are actually going to practice this on Friday on our remote learning day. Y'all are going to practice griddables, or typing them in the boxes on online test. And then of course if we were doing this on paper, you would have to bubble in 1, 3, and 3. Now I did want to show you one other thing we could have done here, was instead of cross multiplying and then dividing, you could have seen that this fraction could have been simplified. Both numbers are even, so when both numbers are even, you can automatically divide it by 2. So I would get a new fraction. 38 divided by 2 gets me what? 19. And then 2 divided by 2 gets me 1. And then now when I put this here, I've got that relationship going from 1 to 7 by multiplying by 7. And then I could do 19 times 7. 63. 7 plus 6 is 13. And we get the same exact answer that we got previously, just doing it a different way. Alright, so if you can simplify, I would definitely simplify. It keeps you from having to cross multiply and then divide. Sometimes you'll have a relationship you can use. Alright, so make sure you just set up your word ratio correctly, the 2 words that the numbers are representing, and then just match them up. What do I know? These 2 numbers go together, they're in the same sentence. Match up the correct word with the correct number, and then figure out where that last number goes. Alright, we're going to do number 2. Might need a piece of paper for this one. David drove 100 miles and used 8 gallons of gas. My light's not turning back on. Rebecca drove 75 miles and used 6 gallons of gas. David said they used gasoline at the same rate. So David drove 100 miles and used 8 gallons. Rebecca drove 75 miles and 6 gallons. So if we were to write those as 2 ratios, miles and gallons, and then David drove at a rate of 100 miles, 8 gallons, and then Rebecca drove at a rate of 75 miles, so 75 miles on top, and then 6 gallons at the bottom. We want to see, David said that they used gasoline at the same rate. So if they used it at the same rate, that means that these 2 ratios are equivalent. Let me try to get my light back on. That's frustrating. All right, so to determine if two ratios are equivalent, when we're given everything, we're not solving for anything. We just want to determine if these are equal. So there's a couple different options I could do. I could convert everything to a decimal. I could try to simplify and see if they simplify to the same thing. But the easiest thing to do is just cross multiply and see if my cross products are the same. If they're not the same, then that tells me that they're not equal. So I'm going to multiply those two. 100 times 6 gets me 600. And then I'm going to multiply these two. 75 times 8 gets me 40. 56 plus 4. 56 plus 4 is 60. So 600. And we can see that they are exactly the same. So because the cross products are the same, that tells me that the two ratios are also equivalent. So is he correct? No, that's not right. He's definitely correct. It says they did use it at the same rate. Yes, because even though they drove different distances, the amount of gas used balanced out the difference. I don't know if that makes sense what the explanation of it, but I know definitely the yes is correct. All right, no, that's definitely not correct. Yes, because the mileage per gallon is equivalent. This is the correct statement. So basically what they're talking about is if we were to find the unit rate, how many miles they could travel per 1 gallon of gas, if I were to divide these and find the unit rate, they would be the same. That's the same thing as just seeing that the cross products are equivalent as well. So the correct answer was D. All right, and that's all we're going to do for today. This video is already 11 minutes, going on 12. So we're going to stop there. If y'all have any questions while y'all are working on the activity, please don't hesitate to ask. Y'all can contact me on Zoom. If not, y'all have a great day. Just make sure you get your assignment done, and I will see y'all tomorrow where we are converting measurement units. Y'all have a great day, and I'll talk to y'all later. Bye, guys.